All right, I'm checking in on my semi-regular, not really, kind of sporadic YouTube updates. Kyle Shanahan just spoke to the media. A couple of injury updates for the 49ers. Yetur Gross-Matos, he's week to week. I asked Shanahan if that means he could start the season on IR. He said that hasn't been a conversation. So the 49ers are hoping that he'll be able to practice next week and be ready to face the Jets on opening night. Leonard Floyd, the other kind of scary injury for the 49ers from Friday night, he's day to day. So that certainly bodes well for him lining up and being in the starting lineup against the Jets, rushing the passer against Aaron Rodgers, as he did last year with the Buffalo Bills on opening night. Talanoa Hufanga, the reports aren't so encouraging for him. The 49ers were hoping that he'd be ready week one. Just by the tone of Shanahan's voice, it didn't sound like that was maybe the way the team is going to go. He kind of suggested that he's on active PUP right now, kind of suggested that he's going to be moved to reserve PUP and miss the first 4 games of the season. More encouraging news for Ricky Pearsall. He had, and I'm not sure what shoulder it is, but a shoulder subluxation, which is basically when the shoulder socket pops out and pops right back in, not the full on dislocation. If I sound like an expert, I am. Back in my athletic days, this shoulder right here, my left shoulder would pop out quite regularly. I'd say probably in basketball and baseball, probably 3 or 4 times. And I wasn't exactly. If you look at me, you can probably tell I'm not exactly a workout warrior. I wasn't exactly in the weight room a lot. So apparently, uh, Pearsall had the same thing happen to him his junior year. So that would have been at Florida, I believe. And then early in the offseason program, it popped out on August 6th. And so he's been working out. I've been watching him. I think he's going to play, I think, on Monday night. I kind of got the sense that if these games were meaningful, if there were regular season games, he would have been playing throughout. But 49ers taking their time with him, making sure that uh, his shoulder is stable and builds up strength in order to kind of get that thing under wraps. But I asked Shanahan if there was any damage to the labrum. He said no. So no surgery, nothing like that. Something that they feel like they can just rehab and strengthen. And will it become an issue in the future? That remains to be seen. But Shanahan, perhaps overstating it a little bit, said that 80% of the guys on the 49ers have had a subluxation at some point in their football careers. D. Winters is had an ankle injury in the game Friday night against the Raiders. They haven't received the MRI back for him, so that remains to be seen if he's going to miss any time. And so going back to Hufanga, if he is unable to open the season on the 53 man, even though it was Malik Mustafa who started the game on Friday night, Shanahan suggested that George Odom would be the guy who lines up next to Jair Brown in the 49ers defensive backfield. The reason Mustafa was in the starting lineup the other night was because Odom rolled his ankle in warmups. They taped it up, and then he ran down on the opening kickoff, and he didn't look great running down, kind of hobbled a little bit. So they said, no, that's it. Enough for you. So that's why Mustafa was in the lineup. So no update offered on Trent Williams or Brandon Ayuk. And that's something that kind of has the 49ers in flux a little bit. They have 92 players if you consider Trent Williams being on the team. He's on reserve, did not report, so he doesn't count against the roster limit. So the 49ers have 92 players. That includes Trent Williams and also an international player. So they're going to have to make some cuts. Obviously, I counted 39. Uh, I think that's my math. 39 roster moves. Some of the guys like John Feliciano and Kalia Davis, those guys will start on the 53 man, and then the next day they'll be moved to injured reserve, and that'll open 2 spots that guys can slide into. And so that's where we are. No update on Trent Williams or Brandon Ayuk. Time is running out. I would think that um, I don't know. I mean, my thought was for the Wednesday practice, that would be the time for both of those guys to get their contract situations resolved and be out there on the field to give them a little bit more time to get ready for the full next week when they're putting in the game plan and everything else to face the Jets. There's going to be one padded practice this week for the 49ers. Also going on behind the scenes, and wherever you think the 49ers have some depth, I would think running back, maybe linebacker, uh, potentially cornerback. When you think about Samuel Womack and Darrell Luter and Rock Yassin, um, maybe a trade possibility, but certainly the 49ers will be looking to trade a player that they anticipate cutting in order to get something in return. They certainly would love to trade any player that's going to get claimed or signed off their team just to get something back for the 2025 NFL draft. So that's the quick recap of what's going on from a health standpoint. And I'll check back in. Pay attention to 49ers Talk anywhere you get your podcasts. And if there is breaking news with Trent Williams or Brandon Ayuk, we'll be bringing that to you as soon as possible.